Township Board of Commissioners, Monday, August 3rd, 2020. It's now time to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a moment of silence. Thank you. We begin with the roll call.
Commissioner Rocco,
Present.
Commissioner Kuzma,
Here.
Commissioner Bekowitz,
Here.
Commissioner Algieri,
Here.
Commissioner Roderick,
Here.
Commissioner Poyer,
Here.
President Walk,
Here.
all present.
The executive session acknowledgement, the board did not have an executive session since before the last public meeting held on July 13th. We move on to the department reports.
Kyle, we have one today.
Oh, that's right. We have to talk about that one. Yes, we had a half-hour executive session tonight before this meeting to talk about personnel and also litigation. Code enforcement, John.
Okay, outside of my written report, the only thing I really have right now is we're still very busy. Permits are picking up. So are the violations. Also, HyperReach is now active. We're setting up working with them to set up the staff training. Residents and anyone can register to receive alerts from the township. All of that information is up on our website. Residents can sign up by email, by phone. They can scan a QR code with their phone and they can select what type of alerts they want to receive and how they want to receive them.
Very good. So the HyperReach is here. Excellent. Any commissioners have any questions for Mr. Snelson?
No.
We move on. Engineer, KLH, Eric Tissue.
A few things I'd like to point out in my report. The Force Main project was advertised for bid on July the 8th. The bid opening is scheduled for the 17th. We did have a mandatory bid meeting on July 24th, and we had 27 contractors show up, which is really good. It's the most I've ever had at any pre-bid. So hopefully that will translate into good numbers when the bids come out. We did have geotechnical work done, and that report was submitted and provided to the contractors. We also are working with CSX and Durabond on their properties, and they've been very cooperative with us. We expect that to continue, and we're still looking to submit our Penvest application for August the 5th. We've been talking with Penvest and the DEP, and right now we're trying to submit. The other item I just wanted to point out is that we did receive the bid documents back from Tresco for the paving contract and forwarded those to the township. So upon final execution, we expect that work to begin shortly, and we'll follow up with them here in the That's all I have.
Thank you, Eric. And again, kudos to KLH for moving this Force Main. I know it's been an incredible project for you. Do any of the other commissioners have any questions for Eric? We move on to the police. Chief David Carestas.
Yes, for the month of July, there were 759 events logged by Allegheny County 911 for our department. There were 8 adult arrests, 5 juvenile arrests for a total of 13. Officers conducted 57 traffic stops and issued 8 traffic citations. Officers investigated 9 motor vehicle crashes, 7 reportable, 2 non-reportable, with 3 injuries because of these crashes.
Thank you, Chief. Any commissioners have any questions for Chief Carestas? If not, we move on to Public Works. Paul Twaley.
Yeah, the The roads that are being paved this year, we are working on the last two right now to finish them up for the contractor to come in. So the timing is really good with that. And this past month, we actually got started on the patching of the potholes and all the other stuff that need repaired from the winter time. That is the first we've been able to get to that, due to the storms and the other stuff that's come up in emergency wise. And the salt bin is in process, waiting for the contract to come back for our approval. That's all I got right now.
That's great. Thank you, Paul. Commissioners have any questions for Paul Twaley, Public Works? If not, we move to our solicitor, Mr. Matt Rakunas.
I don't have anything other than the items that we discussed in executive session.
Are there any questions for Mr. Rakunas from any of the commissioners? If not, we move on to sanitary, Veolia Water, Dennis Ottaviani.
Thank you. For the month of July, we treated a total of 23.7 million gallons of wastewater, and that averaged to about 0.76 million gallons per day. We disposed of 143,000 gallons of sludge that went to McKeesport for further processing. And without all analytical in to date, we are in compliance with all effluent parameters. The one item I'll pick out from the collection portion of the report is we did have some continual power problems at the Boston and Simpson Howell pump stations. We actually had to rent a couple of emergency generators to minimize the overflows, and we worked closely with West Bend Power. They found a couple of faulty transformers within the grid and replaced those, and we're back in service after about 4 or 5 days of running on generator. That's all I had. I can address any questions.
That's good to hear. I know we'll be talking to you a little bit later when you explain the item for consideration number 7.
I have one question, please. This is Bart Rocco. I would assume that all the pump stations do have their own generators. Is that correct?
Unfortunately, they do not. There is only
Okay.
one of the pump stations that has generators. I know that is being discussed for the future upgrades of the pump stations.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious about that. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Are there any other questions for Dennis?
No.
If not, we move on. Joelle Whiteman, our office manager.
I just wanted to update you guys on a couple things regarding COVID. I've been working on the municipal cares federal money that has been allocated to Allegheny County. I've been working on that contract and getting all the paperwork in line for us to receive our reimbursement. We're going to submit for police reimbursement of their wages. We're able to claim about $150,000 in police wages for COVID impacts. And then on top of that, all of the additional expenses we've had to incur, I will be working on the FEMA grant for reimbursement. I've already started that process there. You guys see the COVID return to work policy that was drafted and for consideration tonight. We're still working on pooling documents for the auditors. It seems like every week they send us a new list of items that we have to send over. So it's a slow process, but it is moving. I've taken a few webinars this week on COVID impacts. If anybody has any questions on those, I'd be more than happy to talk to you. Other than that, usually in August, I would set a preliminary budget meeting to talk to the board and the department heads, just where we are, what we're looking at next year. Very, very preliminary. I'm not sure if the board wants me to do that or if they want to wait and see how the office is structured coming in the next few months, or really what to do. Just let me know.
Very good. Sounds like you have been busy. Are there any questions from the board for Joelle?
Yeah, I have something I'd like to say, Kyle. I don't know if everybody got this letter in our packet, but I received one from Bob Baum about Joel, and it's only a paragraph. I'd like to read it so that it's in the minutes. So I got a letter here. Dear Mr. Kuzma, please accept this letter as a testimonial of Joel Whiteman, the current manager of our township. I have only wonderful and great accolade about her efficiency, thoroughness, knowledge of the responsibilities, and cooperation as manager. She came into the job when it was a total mess with many problems such as work not being done correctly, inefficiency, lack of communication by our former manager. In fact, a lawsuit and settlement resulted from all of that. The township is fortunate to have a manager that we have, and I encourage the board to continue to have her as our manager, who has done a great job, understands her duties and responsibilities. She would be very difficult to replace. Good, loyal employees are very hard to find. Just ask, I know. And that's from Bob Baum of Narragansett Drive.
Thank you, Andrew. Well said by Mr. Baum. Any other questions? If not, we move on to committee reports. I don't have anything written down here from any specific committee, but do any of the committee chair people have anything that they would like to bring up at this time?
Nothing for me.
Nothing? Okay, we move on then. Before we start with citizens to address agenda items, I just want to make a notification that item for consideration number 8, which has to do with appointing the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee tonight, will be pulled. Several residents have made comment regarding this, and this will be addressed as now non-agenda items. So they will be addressed at the end of our meeting. We are going to start now with agenda items only. There are several, and they overlap, as you can imagine. And so I'm going to start them in order of when they were received. This first is from Scott Taylor, received this morning at 6:28 a.m. Kyle, hoping you might give some explanation as you are discussing them on the ordinances that are on the agenda for this evening, specifically the rental registration and fire insurance. Yes, Scott, we will be doing that as we bring these up. I continue. I received a couple calls over the weekend thinking I might have some insight to these. The most attention was to rental registration. Why the need to register rentals? The feeling is micromanaging citizens and their personal dealings. One caller referenced their rental properties in Rostraver, Erie, and Virginia Beach, none of which required registration with the local government. Honestly, Virginia Beach stands out because almost everything privately owned within walking distance to the beach is a rental. I see the frustration here. There are conditional use hearings held for gaming business with no conditions to ensure public safety or concerns or even rules to protect the township. And now the board wants to register rentals, which is a private affair. Has nothing to do with property taxes. They get paid no matter the use of the property. So why the need to register as rental? If the township wants to invite people in, why not deter potential investors from, excuse me, I start again. If this township wants to invite people in, would this not deter potential investors from buying a home here if they plan to rent it out? Why does someone retiring to beach community and wishing to rent their home of 30 plus years to supplement their income need to register it as a rental? Next question, any taxable income will not end up here as the owner does not live here. You know what, let's just take this right now, John. I'd like you to explain to the public why this ordinance is being brought up.
Yeah, we actually started on this almost about a year ago. We have a current rental registration ordinance that the township has had for numerous years, requiring landlords to register their properties, let us know what tenants they have, and requires registration and occupancy inspections before a new tenant would take over. What this is going to do is going to amend our current one reshape it a little bit. It's going to still require occupancies between tenants. It's going to require that it's, if they have the tenant there for, 15 years, every so many years, just a safety inspection will be done to make sure that it is safe to be lived in for the tenant that's renting it. Right now, our current ordinance only requires a occupancy between tenants. I don't know, the townships had that ordinance long before me. We're still trying to locate, we only have a handful of registrations. We're still working on locating all of the properties. It's to safeguard, things for the people that rent it, to make sure that it meets minimum life safety requirements. And also, in speaking with the chief, there are some apartments and different things or rentals that do cause issues in some of the neighborhoods. And this one would also allow for a process to try and monitor that if you do have a disruptive tenant that's causing issues to, neighbors, other residents. There's a process to go through that to make sure that the landlord is addressing it.
Thank you, John. Just a question for you on that. Is there a fee to register your rental property?
I think there will be a fee that's, I don't have the ordinance draft in front of me. I can't pull it up on the screen right now. I think there is a registration fee, but I think it would be very minimal. That has not been set yet.
Okay.
Usually, John, I don't know how ours is drafted, but typically when those are fees, they may pay just like a small annual fee. Not every time they have to register. Usually you have to do it like once or something. I don't know how it's drafted.
Yeah, I think, without looking at it specifically, I think it's a very minimal fee for, I think it's, if there's no tenant change, there's like almost no fee. It's more so for the inspection.
The occupancy inspection you're referring to?
Yes, to make sure, it meets necessary requirements, smoke detectors, fire extinguisher, means of egress.
As you said, minimal life safety issues have to be looked at in these.
Yeah, and this is not a new ordinance. We've had a rental registration ordinance for many years.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think that satisfies the answer to that question quite well. The second item on Mr. Taylor's agenda for agenda items is fire insurance. Why is the township concerned with profits or losses due to fire damage, unless this is pertaining to fire damage or loss to township assets? This is an interesting ordinance, and John, go ahead and explain this.
Okay, what this is commonly refers to is, in Pennsylvania, what's known as the Fire Insurance Escrow Act, that the state passed, that if if a policyholder has a property damaged by fire, if a municipality enacts this ordinance and sends a copy to the state, the insurance company is required to send a portion of the proceeds from the insurance payment to the municipality to be held in escrow to make sure that the property is repaired or demolished, so it just does not sit there. And when everything is met, they provide the proper paperwork. The township releases the funds saying it's been corrected. That's all. It's nothing new. It's been enacted years ago. The township, for some reason, just never did enact it. And we have several houses that are sitting there that have suffered fire damage that, the owners still haven't done anything with, and may or may not have already collected their insurance payments.
And now we're going to be stuck spending thousands tearing them down.
Correct.
So this is a good ordinance. That's well said. Thank you, John. I move on. Again, agenda items. This is a letter received from Patty Hoffman at 11:29 this morning. And the first comment, Ordinance 956, creating the Office of Township Manager, references the first class township code to create the office, but under Section 2, appointment of township manager, it says the manager can be appointed for an indefinite term. This is contrary to the first class code reference, which states, quote, The agreement may provide that it shall remain in effect for a specified period terminating no later than 2 years after the effective date of the agreement or the date of the Board of Commissioners organizational meeting following the next municipal election, whichever shall first occur. I'm going to ask Matt to make sense of that for everybody, please.
Yeah, so it's really a non-issue. She must have got an older version. The original version of the draft ordinance was used from the prior managers when the township here had a manager, and it did have that. It did have that in there. That was changed, and so the final version that went out and that will be executed no longer has that language in there. So it's a non-issue.
Thank you. Next question from Patty Hoffman. Section 2 also notes manager need not be a resident of the township. I'll read that again. The manager need not be a resident of the township. All other full-time employees of the township must be residents, including the police. Someone hired to manage the township should also be a resident. Why would this be the only person not requiring residency? We have a collective bargaining agreement with both the police and also the road department, and in that collective bargaining agreement is required residency. The board has talked extensively about a residency for non-union employees, and we've felt that residency requirement should be eliminated, and it has been. So that's why it says that in there. Matt, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I would only add that, yeah, the difference between the collective bargaining and the administrative staff and the non-union staff is it can be, there's a very clear distinction that can be drawn. For instance, if we have a major snowstorm or whatever, you want your public works guys to be close. If there's an incident to school or some other police incident, you want the police department to be there. And I think that COVID has really shown that administration can be effective remotely. They have worked and continue to work at times remotely with no seemingly detrimental effects to the township operationally wise. And that's a credit to technology and the staff itself. So I think that on that level, through discussion, the board has decided that to not enforce that residency requirement for non-collective bargaining. But again, there's a difference between those other jobs and the administrative job. And I think COVID has really pointed that out.
Yeah, that's well said also. Thank you, Matt. Her next question has already been answered, which has to do with rental registrations. And the last question has to do with fire insurance. And I believe that has already been answered. The last is under item 4, which this is the return to work policy. She's asking, can we explain who and what this policy is for and what is in it? Joelle, would you like to start that discussion, please?
Yeah, so Patty, all this is a formal document lining out everything for the employees of Elizabeth Township and returning to the office and working during the COVID-19 pandemic. Everything from what the employees do every day when they walk through the building, how they walk through the building, what their processes are throughout the day to keep the cleanliness up, as well as if you do come into work and you have a temperature, what happens next? If you don't have a temperature, what happens next? It just outlines every possible scenario for the employees when they come into the office every day, so that if we do have a situation where somebody has a fever, somebody has flu-like symptoms, there's no question of who do we call, what do we do? It's written right here in the policy. This is what happens.
Anything to add? Does anybody have anything to add? I think that was well put. Okay. So I have one other, there are actually 3 other letters that I received, that we received. One is from Carol Daly, one is from Megan McDonough, and one is from Ted Grice. Carol's and Megan's are all, at this point, non-agenda items. Ted did have one agenda item on his, but I believe it's already been answered because it has to do with rental restorations, registrations, and also the fire ordinance. And then we'll get back to his non-agenda item at the end of the meeting. These all pretty much have to do with the comprehensive plan steering committee selection. All right, we'll move on to ordinances. I'll entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 9556, creating the office of Township Manager in the Township of Elizabeth and providing for her powers and duties.
Make that motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Roll call. We'll have a second. Roll
I
call.
forgot to unmute myself. Commissioner Rocco,
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma,
No.
Commissioner Bekowitz,
No.
Commissioner Algieri,
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick,
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer,
Yes.
President Walk.
No.
I'd just like to make a comment. If this ordinance passes and this is what we're going to do, I think if Joelle isn't the township manager, I think we owe her the courtesy of letting her know that this is not going to be her position. She bought a house in the township to take the job that she took. So I think we owe her the courtesy of letting her know that so she can plan for her family's future.
Well said, Joanne.
Hey, Kyle, I have a comment if you'd be so kind. It would just only take a minute. Would that be okay?
Yeah, go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, I just want to ask a question of the board, and I'm going to ask these questions rhetorically. Nobody has to answer them. But I've been deeply disturbed at the ordinance that was just passed, and I'm catching wind that a commissioner is going to try to slide a motion on the agenda without any public comment. That's none of my business. But I just want to ask a rhetorical question. How do we know that Joelle isn't the township manager? Has anybody on this board shadowed her for a day? Has anybody met with her to discuss it with her? Has anybody given her an employee evaluation? I mean, if you notice, guys, the three commissioners that just voted no were the commissioners that worked with her on a daily basis as president of the board. Joanne, Kyle, and myself. Doesn't that say something about the caliber of this woman? And if you don't want to take it from me, because I'm just a law student, the Elizabeth Township was fortunate enough to receive a grant to have Joelle mentored by a 30-year veteran of managing municipalities. And it was, I don't know how many months, at least 6 months to a year. And afterwards, this manager gave a report to the commissioners. I don't know who read it. It was about probably a half-inch thick. And in that report, it said that Joelle is an excellent township manager.
Yep.
Now, who is it for a law clerk, a dentist, a special ed major, a banker? Who is it for us to say that she's not the township manager if nobody met with her, has shadowed her, worked with her on a daily basis? I mean, she goes to SHACOG meetings for township managers in Allegheny County and representing us. And now we're going to try to advertise for a township manager and eliminate the position.
And
we need to seriously reconsider what we're doing.
I also think the packet that woman gave, that the new commissioners need to sit and read that. If they haven't been given that, they need to be given that so they can read it.
This is what I need to know, and I need the members on the board, I need to convey to you guys the letter that we got from Bob Baum. Last year, and sort of the beginning of this year, and it's not Kyle's fault, we had the best, it was the best that the township ever operated. We didn't have any employee lawsuits. We didn't have any grievances filed from the police, the road crew. You go into the municipal building, and the spirit was wonderful. The morale was wonderful. And now I go in to talk to township employees, and it is the total opposite. And whenever you want to make changes, I just want to say this. You haven't seen it as bad as it's been. We had to pay over 6 figures in settlements, and you guys don't know what you're getting yourselves into. You need to take advice from the people that worked with her on a daily basis. Joanne, Kyle, and myself. And that's, I'm sorry to bog everybody down. I'll give you the mic, Kyle.
Thank you for your input, Andrew. All right, we move on. Motion to advertise an ordinance amending the township code with regard to rental registrations. I'm asking for a motion.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
We've already discussed this, so roll call.
Commissioner Rocco,
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma,
Yes.
Commissioner Bekowitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri,
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick,
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer,
Yes.
President Walk.
Yes. Motion to advertise an ordinance pertaining to losses due to fire and insurance proceeds from such losses.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Rocco,
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma,
Yes.
Commissioner Bekowitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri,
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick,
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer,
Yes.
President Walk.
Yes. We move on. Items for discussion. Listed as stormwater plan. Eric Tissue and Veronica are here from KLH tonight, and they're going to give us an overview of MS4 as it pertains to Elizabeth Township, first-class municipality. And I'll just take it over, Veronica.
Good evening, everyone. Glad to see you guys. So what I want to go over is just kind of the stormwater plan for Elizabeth Township. It's kind of two parts because the way you're lined out, you have a very large non-urban area within the township. So your MS4 only applies to very small areas of the township compared to the size of it. And we know that there is a stormwater issue with flooding and everywhere. So we kind of put together in July a stormwater memo that I kind of looked at the township and was thinking, all right, this is how we need to target your problems. And it's looking at the township as a whole. We've been trying to play this game where, all right, there's a flooding issue here, we go fix that. But then it may cause something else downstream, or it might not fix the big problem. We might just be spending a lot of money to fix a very small problem, where if we looked at the watershed in its entirety, we may be able to see areas that we can target upstream to completely prevent that flooding issue. That's kind of what I'm looking at for Elizabeth Township and how we move forward with your stormwater. I think we need to go big picture, the entire township, hit those spot areas that we know are of concern, and then start looking upstream, look downstream, and look at projects that we can do that you get more bang for your buck. We're going to spend this money and we're not just going to solve this one problem we're looking at, we're going to solve 4 other ones. And then your MS4 project, your program, kind of comes into it after the fact. Like I'm saying, you know, if we just looked at MS4, we wouldn't even we probably like maybe a quarter, you know, of the township actually is under MS4. So with the MS4 program, with these projects that we would do, we could kind of work that in. And I think Eric passed around, I kind of did a little quick presentation, which I wasn't going to go through every sheet, but it kind of just gives you the background on what MS4 is. So it's your municipal separate storm sewer system. So this is just where your inlets and everything that are collecting solely stormwater. Some areas they have, not in Elizabeth Township, I don't think you have any combined sewers, if I'm correct.
We do not.
All right, yeah, so some municipalities have combined sewers. You guys are already separate, so you know you're on track with there. The MS4, the big picture that they're getting out of it is this is more of an education than it is footwork, or because a lot of the concepts behind it, they kind of give you 6, they call them minimum control measures. So there's kind of these 6 things they throw out there. 4 out of the 6 are pretty much education. So it's either educating the public and things they can do, getting the public involved in doing stuff. Within the township, it's looking at your own resources and things that you can do and employee education that can do these works. The big footwork, the hard work behind it is the one that is number 3, and that is the illicit discharge detection. So this is the one that's kind of looking at all the problems. This is going to point out your problems. This is you go around and the goal is every 5 years, you go to every outfall within the township, you sample water and you either determine that it's clean water, there's an issue with this water, it smells funny. You just kind of look into and seeing, what's actually coming out of these outfalls. Along with that is mapping. And mapping is a huge thing. And that's something we can kind of push to the forefront because that'll come in handy with our watershed. We can kind of tackle all of that at once. We don't have a complete stormwater system map for Elizabeth Township. And the way DEP is even looking at it, I mean, we think inlets and pipes. No, it's more than that. It's drainage swales, it's rain gardens, it's ponds. They want all of these features mapped out over the life of your MS4. Now, there is no end date. There is no, you hit this date and it has to be completed. How they set it up, it's measurable goals. So if we say in this 5-year term, we're going to test all our outfalls and we're going to map all of our inlets. We go out there, we look at it, we do that, we show them that we're doing something. We're doing something to move forward. So these are kind of, I don't want to say they're the easy things, but a lot of these are stuff that we can do on a daily basis. One thing I tell people all the time that you can get credit for is your public works. Give them a logbook, so that every time they're out and they're driving around and someone reports a clogged inlet or some sort of water problem, if they get out and they remove debris from it, you just got credit on your MS4. You just knocked something off that was just your daily job. But if you don't have it logged, you don't have that proof behind it. So these are all kind of things we can do to work on the MS4. Every year, we have to do a kind of a reporting to show that we have educational materials. There's usually posters and stuff that they put out that you can just, hanging a poster in the township building is one thing, you meet a goal. Sometimes with grading permits, give them an E&S sheet for erosion sediment control, silt fence. That's another thing that you can meet stuff. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with the MS4 program that are simple and not these big, money tasks. Now, the one part of the MS4 program that does get you is the PRP plan, which is considered a pollution reduction plan. If you are in a watershed or have a stream that's considered impaired by DEP, they kind of did these charts A through E, I believe appendices. And if you have water that pops up on one of these and you have an outfall that goes to it, then you have to do additional work. So your regular MS4 isn't going to cover it just with education. This is where you actually have to go out and do projects. So a lot of these projects involve sediment removal. So that can either be a direct thing where you're putting sediment bags within inlets, or you can do bio rain gardens, you can do stream bank rehabilitation projects. So there's a bunch of different projects you can do. And these projects will also help the overall flooding issue. So this is something that you do have a PRP plan. All your MS4 is good right now. Your permit's in, your PRP plan's in. But the PRP plan is something that's kind of designed to evolve with us as we move forward. So just because we have one approved right now does not mean we have to stick with that one. If we find another project, if we decide that some part of, I think it's Wiley Run, needs some stream bank rehabilitation and we do that, we can amend our PRP plan. So that gives us credit for doing that task against what we should do to kind of make our water better. And that's ultimately what it is. They just want to see projects that we're removing sediment and cleaning the water before it hits the big rivers. So that, that was very generic. I wanted to do, I don't want to get too crazy with everything right now, but I think what the township as a whole needs to do is look at, like I said, the overall stormwater issue right now. Highlight our big areas where we definitely have the flooding issues that we need to look at. Rank those areas and then start developing a plan on how we can tackle this. So I almost want to put, if anyone's been through the Act 537 for your sewers, Same sort of thing with stormwater.
Thank you, Veronica. Now, you just stated that the most important thing at this point would be to rank the areas.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask you if you would to not necessarily right now, but to define those areas and begin your own ranking.
Okay.
There's certainly many residents that are familiar with this that would be really willing to help. And I feel very strongly that we need to move this along right now. You've heard the discussions about us moving in with a comprehensive plan that will be developed real soon. Well, the MS4 has to go with this also, and it has to be implementable as well. And we now have the ArcGIS mapping that Greg and John are developing, and so there's a lot of things that are falling into place. So we need to get this moving along.
Kyle, a couple of things there with that we put that memo out summarizing what we thought the township might want to consider with regard to that I'll call it a feasibility study, or as Veronica referred to it, more of an Act 537 plan for stormwater. But we would want to work with staff to see in terms of prioritizing watersheds and what kind of work needs to be done. I've talked to several commissioners about various problems that we've had and how to deal with them. And I think that was sort of the impetus of looking at this as a bigger picture. So we certainly would want to get together with staff fairly quickly here just to go over some of those things so we can get that ball rolling.
Let's set it up, please.
Will do.
Okay. Thank you. Any of the commissioners have any questions for either Eric or Veronica?
No.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, guys. We move on. Items for consideration. I would ask for a motion to approve the commissioners' meetings dated July 13th, 2020.
Make a motion.
Second.
Questions on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Rocco,
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma,
Yes.
Commissioner Bekowitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri,
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick,
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer,
Yes.
President Walk.
Yes. Number 2, motion to approve the general fund bill warrant dated August 3rd, 2020 in the amount of $232,754.32.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? Roll call.
Commissioner Rocco,
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma,
Yes.
Commissioner Bekowitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri,
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick,
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer,
Yes.
President Walk.
Yes. Number 3, motion to approve the sanitary fund bill warrant dated August 3rd, 2020 in the amount of $79,998.48.
So moved.
I'll second. Questions? Roll call.
Commissioner Rocco,
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma,
Yes.
Commissioner Bekowitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri,
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick,
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer,
Yes.
President Walk.
Yes. Item 4, motion to approve the return to work COVID-19 policy.
So moved.
I'll second. Questions on the motion? Roll call.
Commissioner Rocco,
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma,
Yes.
Commissioner Bekowitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri,
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick,
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer,
Yes.
President Walk.
Yes. I'm a little confused about 5 and 6 here, Joel. So why 2 numbers on this item? That's just a typo?
Yeah, that, I don't know why that number 5 is there.
All right.
Yeah, no, it's
Doesn't
just
matter.
it's an extra number. There's not a,
Okay, very good. So this is a motion to approve payment in the amount of $67,878.65 to Morgan Excavating for work completed on the Greenwald Farm Store Sewer Improvements Contract number 2018-06 as recommended by KLH Engineers. Retainer withheld until project is complete. It's a capital expense. Asking for a motion. Hello?
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion.
All right, I'll second. Any questions?
Yeah, could someone explain what this is about?
Yeah, I'd like that also.
Eric, do you want to take it?
Sure, this is payment for work that has been done in the store at Greenwald Farms. The contract, I believe, was about $75,000 because I think we're holding about $7,000 drainage. But this is payment request number one for that has been done, and we're recommending payment for that. Like I said, we're still withholding about $7,000 pending adequate restoration, which we need to go out. They've done some restoration, go out and look at it. So we won't pay them the remainder of it until that's been done adequately.
Thank you.
Any questions for Eric?
No.
All right, we have a motion made and seconded. Roll call.
Commissioner Rocco?
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma?
Yes.
Commissioner Bekowitz?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyer?
Yes.
President Walk?
Yes.
So this will be motion number 6, not 7.
Okay.
Because there was that typo, that 6 in there.
I got you.
Okay.
Okay, so number 6, motion to approve proposal from Durnach Environmental for rental of SSO flow meters for pump stations at the cost of $750 per month per meter. And this will be a sanitary expense. We will have a discussion. I'm now asking for a motion.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Dennis, I'm going to ask you to do the explanation, please.
Sure. We're required by the provisions of our NPDES permit to monitor our SSO outfalls. Those are done by a specialized meter called an area velocity meter. We are contracted with Durnach Environmental to do a monthly assessment of that data and upload and reporting. We have owned several of those meters in the past and simply paid Durnach to manage them and manage the data on them. Two of those meters, at least two of those meters, are now basically beyond their functional life and need to be replaced. The cost to buy them is somewhere between $7,000 and $8,000, and their useful life is about 3 to 4, maybe 5 years. So we have the option to buy them ourselves or to rent them from Durnach Environmental. And the difference between their management fee and renting the meters is $150 a month. So our recommendation is based upon the life cycle of the meter itself, buying versus renting, and the risk of those meters failing in their lifetime and us having the risk of repairing them on our dollar. Our recommendation is to rent from Durnach versus buying them on our own.
Very well said. Dennis and I have had this discussion in depth before. And again, the management fee, whether we rent it or own it, is $600 a month. So the management fee plus renting it is only $150 more. And so it really makes sense to just rent these meters because they break.
And we have these meters every month of the year?
Yeah.
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an expensive animal. Some of this will go away once the 537 force main is completed. But until then, these meters have to be in place.
So what's the total cost, the annual expense for the sanitary group, Kyle? How much would that be total?
Annual cost for each meter?
Well, I see it's $750 per month per meter. So how many meters are we using and what's the annual cost? That's my question.
Dennis, how many of these SSM meters do you have in place?
I believe we have 7 meters in place right now.
And the other 5 meters, are they owned by the township or are they being rented also?
They are being, I think 2 of them are still functional, so 5 of them will be rented.
Okay. Yeah, it's an expensive game.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, we're mandated by the DEP. Especially with everything we are going on, we have to provide flows, and we get something we can't do without.
Any other questions?
No.
All right, we have a motion. Made and seconded. Roll call.
Commissioner Rocco,
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma,
Yes.
Commissioner Beckwitz,
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri,
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick,
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer,
Yes.
President Walk.
Yes. Okay, motion number 8, which is motion number 7, has been pulled. The reason that was pulled is as follows. The appointments to the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee will not be done on a first come, first served basis. I believe it is vitally important to have a committee of residents who can be very objective in their approach to developing our comprehensive plan. I realize that after the few days to decide these really important appointments is just simply not enough. Therefore, I've extended the time period for accepting letters of interest for another week to close next Monday, August 10th, at the end of the business day. I will be reading comment from several residents here shortly, so there will be more discussion about that. Again, these are going to be made non-agenda items from citizens and again, addressed in order of when they came in today. The first is from Carol Daly, and this came at 9:40 this morning. Question number 1. In 2019, the commissioners voted to have KLH write and present to the Trails Council a plan to extend the sewage line into Smithdale. If the extension is not part of the 537 Act, please make a motion to nullify and void that motion to reassure the residents that the extension line is canceled. Carol, this just simply didn't happen. It wasn't included in the 537 plan. The regional trail never heard of it. It wasn't presented to the regional trail. We don't really need a motion to nullify something that never happened. Her second question, could KLH please give the Penvest application to the township? If we can't read the Penvest application or the Penvest response stating they want a second opinion, why should the residents pay $8,000 for a second opinion? We can discuss this with KLH, Carol. Can you give a quick answer to that about whether or not the residents can see this Penvest application, Eric or Matt?
We haven't even filed the application yet. It's public record, so absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so that'll be out there, Carol. Next, since the use has changed as required by ordinance, will the code officer please have Commissioner Poyer complete the tenant registration form and apply for the new occupancy permits for 605 Scenery Drive with all the tenants' names listed? There are as many as 3 owners per business or site. Is the township or the state gaming commission and state police aware that the code officer is dispensing deceptive licenses from a gaming company? Matt and I went over this question, Carol, and we couldn't really make much sense out of it. Matt, do you have anything to add about this question?
In trying to weed through it, Kyle, like we did, I think the answer that I can provide based on what I understand the question to be is we certainly are going to enforce all of our township ordinances. We're not aware of any deceptive practices by any township employee. We don't authorize, condone, allow anything like that. So if we have tenant registrations or other ordinances for occupancy that are in place, John Snelson is certainly aware of those. We enforce those, and that's how we proceed.
Thank you, Matt. Our fourth question. The County Election Board has Commissioner Kuzma's street address as being He Street, Buena Vista. Is this a mistake? In order to clarify, will Commissioner Kuzma please sign an affidavit to that his residency, his domicile, is in Buena Vista with the corrected address, please? We will talk with Commissioner Kuzma about that at a later time, but if that's what his address is listed at, then that's his domicile. Fifth question. Attorney Rakunas said he wrote a residential solar ordinance. Could the reason for excluding commercial solar farms is because a solar farm on a particular landowner's property isn't wanted? R2K states that illegal reason. Just recently, Attorney Rakunas stated that conditional uses and amendments must be processed. You just can't stop the process. However, in 2018, that process was stopped. A resident had submitted a solar curative text amendment with the $500 processing fee for the hearing. Please explain why that particular resident's solar text amendment was not processed. Legally, could have taken the township to court and would have become a township ordinance automatically, whether the township liked it or not. Commercial solar plants and all. Again, that's really a loaded question, and Matt and I did discuss this. Matt, can you comment, please?
Yeah, I'll comment. I mean, there's so many factual inaccuracies in there. I'm not quite sure where to begin, but what I can say is that I did draft a residential solar ordinance. So again, her inaccuracies are peppered with some truths, okay, which makes it hard to weed through. So yes, Ms. McDonough did submit a solar and commercial text amendment. There's a distinction between a text amendment and a curative amendment, okay? So the text amendment was submitted for residential and commercial solar. At that time, it went in front of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission decided that it did not want to address commercial and residential together in one ordinance, that they wanted to split the ordinances. And there were other changes that they had proposed to take place in Ms. McDonough's submitted text amendment, okay? At that time, after some discussion, Ms. McDonough said no, she did not wish to change the ordinance as it was submitted to the Planning Commission. Therefore, the Planning Commission rejected her proposed text amendment. At that point, it really never went in front of the board because there was no desire by anybody, whether it was the commissioners or the Planning Commission, as I understand it, to address those two uses together. They really wanted to separate them. So relatively recently, a few months ago, the Planning Commission did discuss and brought up about residential solar. And so that they have requested that I put together the residential solar ordinance, which is what I have done. It's in its draft form now. It hasn't even gone through the planning at this point, but that's really what happened. They wanted to be split. At the time, Ms. McDonough did not want to split them, and so it really got rejected. She couldn't have taken us to court on it. If it was a curative amendment, that would have been one thing, but she submitted as a text amendment. And I do believe, I'll confirm with John, but I think we even refunded her original application fee after it didn't really go anywhere. So John will confirm with that as well.
We did.
That's kind of where that ended up.
Joel just stated that we did, the township did refund that $500.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, she certainly is not out of pocket. She submitted a text amendment. There just wasn't a desire by the township to rezone the particular parcel or do that particular text amendment at that time. And so, yeah, we did refund her.
Okay, and then lastly, on Carol Daly's is why not allow any resident that has an interest from writing the comprehensive plan to be involved? There's no ordinance or resolution explaining the ad hoc committee. They can't make motions, so they don't need a quorum. Also, it would be helpful, less confusing, if the name of the committee is clarified and that name be used consistently. because the township has hired a company to guide the committee, board, or whatever it's called. So let's get that straight right now. This is the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee, and that's how it will be addressed, Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee. The members should attend as individual residents, not as employee or contractual employee. In other words, the township should not be paying any individuals except the company hired to write the plan or express their opinion or advice. No stipends, no invoices, no overtime, except for the engineer opinion. The members should all attend as residents, as equals, not one person having their voice, no matter what their profession or experience is, heard over another, or pushing an agenda at the expense of the multitude. That is actually very well said, Carol, and thank you for that. And I certainly think that that this board will be very objective. That's what we're aiming for, and that there will be equality across the board. That's it for our Carol's non-agenda comments. I move on to the last two non-agenda comments, which actually are one from Megan McDonough and the other one from Ted Grice. And they're based concerning the same thing. This is from Megan McDonough, came in at 3:55. President Walk was quoted today in the Mon Valley Independent in relation to delaying the vote to appoint comprehensive plan committee members. From what I gather in the article, there were 9 letters of interest submitted. However, the choice to delay the vote is based on needing 12. For clarity purposes, does this mean that there are 3 open seats for the comprehensive plan committee and the current 9 applications which have already submitted their letters of interest and committed their time to serve will be placed on this committee? If so, why would the vote for these 9 take place tonight, only leaving 3 seats to be filled at a later date? Unless, of course, there are personal political reasons for denying these 9 community members an opportunity to be engaged in this community-focused project that should, in fact, be community-led. If that is the case, can those reasons be explained further? So I already made this statement, and I'll make it again. This is not first come, first serve. We need to select this committee based on qualifications and objectivity. And this will be very well thought out by Dr. Rocco and the rest of the board, and then appointed through me very soon. But we're going to give another week to work on this.
President Walk, can I make a comment on that as well?
Yes, please. Yes, please,
Yeah.
Dr. Rocco.
Yeah, you know, the township is committed to allocating taxpayer resources to develop this comprehensive plan. You know, out of the thousands of tax-paying residents, we believe that our community members out there, there are community members out there that could help us move our township forward and who have a role in our community as civic leaders. We certainly appreciate the responses so far, but because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we believe we need to extend this advertisement. This is not, as Kyle said, this is not a first come, first served activity. But we must do our due diligence to see if others may want to be involved in this very important process for the taxpayers of this community. The commissioners will review the submitted names, select the committee based on their input and with guidance from the Environmental Plan and Design Company. Thank you.
Very well said, Bart. Thank you. And along with this is Ted Grice's non-agenda question, which came at 4:16 p.m. I am also concerned about what I read in the paper today about opening the comprehensive planning committee application process for another week. Nothing is mentioned on the township site about this, but yet it is in the paper before anything is voted on. What does this delay mean for the people who have already applied? How will this affect the decision-making process of approval for committee members? I think this is asked and already answered. That's all I have for you, y'all. Does any commissioners have anything to add for the good of the community?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion, please, to have the advertisement for township manager be developed by our solicitor and placed in our advertising sources.
I'll second that motion, Dr. Rocco.
I would like to ask Matt to advise us on this, how this has to go before public comment before we can vote on it.
Sure. So members of the public at this time, I would ask if you have any public comment on the motion that's on the floor and only the motion that's on the floor. Now is your time. You would be given 3 minutes at this time.
I don't know if I have to unmute them or if they can unmute themselves.
They can either unmute themselves or just, just speak up is kind of how it has to go, unfortunately, with these meetings. I've had enough of them. You kind of just have to speak up, state your name and address for the record, and make your comment.
If you can't get unmuted, just go in the chat and let me know to unmute you, because I do mute participants upon entry, so the people on phone can't unmute themselves.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, this is Ted Grice, 1645 Scenery Drive. This wasn't on the agenda at all, right? I didn't see anything regarding this statement that's being done right now. So we're all of a sudden opening up public comment for people to have a comment when it was not advertised as an agenda item to even discuss. So like when I went through the list of things that were there and you read my concerns and so forth, and I just got back from cross country and tried my darndest to go ahead and get here to get online. I made comments based upon what I saw on the agenda. Presently, at the same point in time, there's been a school board meeting discussing opening a school and how that's going to be going down. And that meeting started off at 6:30 p.m. and it was going well into the length of this meeting. And so there are a lot of people who might have a comment, a public comment about this concept, that are not being represented here because it wasn't on the agenda anywhere, and they were somewhere else trying to take care of another issue in the township dealing with having their kids go back to school. So I really don't think that having the public comment right now is a very fair way of doing this for everyone when they didn't know that this was even going to be something to be done.
So let me just address two of those points, actually. Mr. Grice, I appreciate your comments. So, in doing this work for as long as I have, there's absolutely nothing prohibiting the board from making a motion under new business. It happens all the time, happens a lot of places, old business, new business, motions off the floor. The reason that we're doing public comment on these issues now is because they were not on the agenda. So that is the precise reason why you are getting an opportunity to make your comment regarding that motion at this time. That is the requirement that we do before the board goes ahead and votes on it. So if you are given your chance to comment on it, appreciate your comments. But again, there's nothing legally prohibiting the board from moving forward.
Well, okay, so legally I've heard the response to that. I think, I don't know, I don't want to say ethically or morally, but I don't know. It seemed like there's a lot of discussion about how this should go forward, and there's a lot of people who don't have definitive answers right now, and I just think that this might be rushing things. That's my only comment.
Go ahead, Kyle. You can ask for next comment.
Next comment from the public, please.
Hey, this is Patty Hoffman, 408 Duncan Station Road. My comment would be that we were just doing an ordinance to do township manager, and now we're doing public comment, pretty similar to what Ted was just saying. And there are a lot of people that would like to comment on this. I agree with Andrew, and I agree with Bob Baum. I think we have a highly capable person in that position right now. Although her title is office manager, she has been doing township manager for the past 5 years. And I think that it is ridiculous to have to sit there and say that we're going to have people come in from the outside who know nothing when we have someone sitting here in front of us that actually has the qualifications and has been doing this and does work with the public and works with all of the people in all of the jobs that we have. So my comment is, I think that you are just rushing it to try to find somebody else, and we're going to be in a position where we're going to be worse off than we were before Joelle took over and try to work our way back up again. So I think my comment is Joelle is our township manager.
Any further comment from the public? We have a motion to move forward with advertising for the.
Scott, are you trying to comment?
We
I
can't hear
think
you,
Scott's
Scott.
trying to comment.
Can you unmute
Okay,
Scott?
my internet.
Scott?
You're echoing.
Okay, how's that?
That's better.
Hold on. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right, sorry, I had two devices going here at the same time. Can somebody reiterate that motion, please?
Dr. Rocco, can you repeat your motion, please?
He needs to shut off one of the devices. He's using two devices and he's getting feedback. I can't hear. The motion is to have, I'd like to make a motion to advertise for township manager, and I recommended that our districts, or that our township solicitor assist in developing that advertisement.
Okay, that's what I thought. My biggest concern is we just put the motion on the floor to create the job position and a description for that position. And now you want to advertise for, people to apply to that position. How can you put the cart before the horse?
What do you mean by that, Scott?
Yeah, I'm not sure where you're going on that either. We had, the ordinance was created a month ago.
Correct, but did you not just vote to advertise that ordinance? To create the position and the job title?
No, Scott, it was adopted tonight.
Okay, so public yet again sees none of this information, what this job title looks like. Okay, I'm done.
All right, we have a motion in front of us. Is there any other public comment?
I just think this motion should be done at a public meeting where the public has a chance to speak when we meet in person. We need to quit hiding behind the phone.
This is a public meeting. People had time to comment. Call the vote.
This is a joke. Mr. Chairman, can I make a question on the motion?
I'm still in the comment. Yes.
Okay, so I know that the public and the commission.
Wait, Andrew, I'm sorry. Before the commissioners comment on the motion, you should make sure nobody else, I just want to confirm nobody else in the public has any comments, and then we can move to commissioner discussion.
All right. Is there any other public comment on this motion?
Okay, so go ahead, Andrew, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I just have a question on the motion. I know that the public and the commissioners during the public comment period aren't to be going back and forth, asking and answering questions. But as a commissioner, I feel that I have the right to have a question answered. And I want to know, after everything that I just said, and after the report that the mentor from that grant that we got, that mentor Joelle, that said that she is a township manager, and after she spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy a house here, I want to know why we aren't appointing her to that position if she already is our manager.
I agree with that.
Can I have an answer, please? I mean, as a commissioner and as someone that's elected, I feel like I'm entitled to have an answer on a question to a motion that's been put forward before this body. That isn't a prepared statement.
Well, the word on the street is somebody's already got the job. That's why.
Well, I want an
What I've
answer
been
from the
hearing.
person that made the motion.
Well, you're not going to get it.
Well, if
Well,
you can't answer, if you,
Well,
yeah,
excuse
I'd like
me.
to have an
If
answer.
you, first of all, I know no one out there that's looking for this job, number one. No one. So I made the motion. We created the ordinance. I'm making the motion to advertise. And I got a second. I'm asking our board president to call the roll for this motion.
But as an elected commissioner to this board, I am entitled to have a question answered about a motion.
Well,
And I want to know why we are not appointing Joelle to that position.
Again, I asked the motion, I called the motion. I'm asking for our president to call the motion.
I know what you did, but I want to know why you aren't putting Joelle into that position.
Just on its surface, this is just a motion to advertise. It's not a motion to hire. I think that your discussion, what you're talking about, might be better held in an executive session under a personnel issue. I don't think we need to get into that in a public meeting, in my opinion. So you might be something you want to address in an executive session.
Listen, we're voting on it now. That we should have talked about it in an executive session before the meeting.
No, you're
And
not
the
voting.
Sunshine Act,
You're only voting on a motion to draft and advertise. That's all.
I'm not
but
hiring.
I want to know why we aren't appointing. I want to know why we're even doing that. Why aren't we just appointing her to that position instead of advertising and accepting applications? Why aren't we just appointing her?
This motion, I hope everyone understands, this motion is not appointing anybody. This motion is merely advertising for the position. That's all that it is.
I know, but I'm asking why don't we appoint her? Why don't we appoint
Well,
Joelle?
make the motion. Make the motion.
Well, there's a
Andrea.
motion and a second on the floor first.
I understand that. Let's vote on this one and then you make the motion.
All right, I'm calling.
But if you make a motion and you can't answer a question, then why are you making it?
Well,
I'm entitled to an answer. I'm an elected commissioner.
again, Andrew, you've been told this 3 times that the answer to your question has nothing to do with this motion. This is to advertise this position. That's all it is. All right, I'm calling the vote on this motion. Roll call.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rocco?
Yes.
Commissioner Kuzma?
No.
Commissioner Bekowitz?
No.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Roderick?
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer?
Yes.
President Walk?
No. Is there anything else coming from the floor? Anything else for the good of the community here from the board?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to appoint Joelle to that position.
I'll second it.
Okay, at this time, you got to take any comments from the public, limited to this and only this motion that's on the floor. Go ahead, Kyle.
So we have a motion to hire Joelle as our township manager, to be appointed our township manager. Do we have any public comment on that?
Patty Hoffman, 408 Duncan Station Road. I believe that Joelle is the competent person to be put in that position, and I hope that our commissioners will vote yes.
Are there any other members of the public that would like to comment?
Okay, you can move to commissioner discussion if there's no.
Yeah, so this is Ted Grice, 1645 Scenery Drive. And I understand that you're going to say it was just a motion to advertise or whatever else is going on, but it just seems like when everyone's saying everyone should take a look at this document that was created, which I have no idea what's in the document that's created, and it was based upon a survey of her performance to go ahead and see how well she would adapt to the situation, and no one's willing to even say, hey, that's really a good idea, that we should probably take a look at this thing. That's what concerns me about all of this. And I understand that the comeback will be, well, she can apply for the job or whatever else along those lines. But it seems to me like there's enough information that if you wanted to collect data to see what was going on, it would be a good data point to have to take a look at that. And she's handled herself very professionally for everything that's gone on. And my 2 cents of saying, yeah, Joelle's great means nothing to you guys. I realize that. But I think that with everything that's going on around here, there's definitely a momentum that direction.
Thank you, Ted. Are there any other comments from the public?
This is Kathy Anderson. I'd like to make a comment, and I'm anxious to do that because I'm afraid that if I make a comment in her favor, it's going to count against her. But I have found Joelle to be exceptionally responsive. She's nonpartisan. She's professional. she is responsive. It really disturbs me that you folks are not considering her for this position. And I find it very sad that you all are playing such incredibly partisan politics. I just think that she is just a fabulous representative of what she can do for our township. And I'm very sorry that it's come to this. I really am. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Kathy. Are there any other comments from the public?
Yes, Kyle, this is Haley Giuliano. I have a comment.
Go ahead.
1804 Blythedale Road. I think it is unfortunate that you have a wonderful internal candidate that has done the work, has the experience, and has proven herself to the board members and to the residents of the township. And it is absolutely absurd to spend township dollars to advertise, to interview, and to bring somebody in and have to train them when you have somebody here that's able to do the job. It's really disturbing. That's all.
Thank you. That well said also. Any other comment from the public? This time I'd like to open up to the commissioners for comment and discussion.
Kyle, I would even be willing to amend the motion to include a probationary period with employee evaluations. That would be the right way of doing it.
I personally think she's proven herself. I think the fact that she took it upon herself to purchase a house, and she truly loves the township, and her family loves living here. I don't know how we could do this to her. I really don't. You guys need to search your souls for what you're doing. Believe me. And some of you may not have a soul.
All right, we don't have to go there. I will tell the board that in my 7 months in this position as president, that Joelle has taught me more than I've learned in the previous 2.5 years. I have really watched her mature. She is absolutely wonderful to work with. And if we really should give her a chance at this position, we really should. Probationary period kind of is thrown an olive branch. But even with that, I think we need to give her a chance.
She can apply for the position, Kyle.
I'm aware of that, but that's not what the motion is about here.
Well, I wanted to make that comment.
Sure, exactly. Any other questions from the commissioners? All right, I'm going to vote. I'm going to roll call.
Commissioner Rocco?
No.
Commissioner Kuzma?
Yes.
Commissioner Beckwitz?
I couldn't hear. What was my phone was breaking up.
The
What was
motion on the floor is to appoint Joelle Whiteman as township manager.
Yes.
Your vote.
Commissioner Algieri?
No.
Commissioner Roderick?
No.
Commissioner Poyer?
No.
President Walk?
Yes. Sad way to end the meeting. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, night, y'all.
Aye.